Muslim college? Yes, I am. But I'm a Moor. Love. I'm a Moor.
At last, we do the dash. I marathon in my time, stay on the line. I'm never stalling like Malcolm, I spill the facts. You still applaud and they hate, assassinate, and y'all award them. By the mass, I choose sets, word to Boston. In the lab with crew necks, herbs and tonics. In the class with scientists, doing the math, writing hieroglyphs. I'm the man with the iron fist, got a past full of darkness. Catching that ghost like a house when it's haunted. Doing the most with the status of a lease home. I spend my whole life running for police cars. I spent my lifetime running from my evils. Ain't know myself, thought I was a different people. My people say they couldn't find the answers. Never heard of Moors, but know all about the Panthers. We catching cancers. Last dragon, knew I was a master. Started from a servant. Chapter 28. We all we got. We all we got. We all we got. We got. Oh, love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. So upon the law, put my fears in the dungeon. We all we got. We all we got. We all we got. We got.
Mothers, brothers, enemies, and others. Love for those with no shelter, eaten from the gutters. Truth of vibration so strong it heals. Truth is the second principle of our divine creed. Truth is art. For it many died and some fought. Truth doesn't apologize and need a mascot. Truth must be known and not just only love genius. Truth is not for all men, only those who seek it. Peace be still, be integrity, behold upright. Peace is a mind state, no need to be uptight. Peace in the greeting or passage when I leave. Peace will not rest but rise when you grieve. Freedom of speech taken away like sheep led to slaughter. Freedom for souls trapped, out of control kidnapped daughters. Justice or death, after that what's left? Justice for the husk, become one with the holy breath.
I was the last dragon, knew I was a master. Started from a servant, chapter 28. We all we got. We all we got. We all we got. Oh, love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. So upon the law, put my fears in the dungeon. We all we got. We all we got. Staying on guard, the 5-pointed star, renegade with the J scimitar. Ain't got the thinnest blade, we blaze in the halls until the feeling fades. The game's in my heart, ain't nothing minute made. Reversing this mystery, y'all, cursing this history, niggas that turns burned in my mind and crime hinders me. Say hi, Timothy, this is divine ministry, focused upon getting the mind about a misery.
Justice denied, ignorance prevails. Justice the balance, but I see just us in the jails. Justice can only reign with a free national name. Justice gives no pleasure or has no shame. So laws speak truth, so peace can exist. For freedom to democracies not to exist. Fill out the census wrong, end up on the stock list. Tight with the fam like locks, twist Moorish occultist.
I was the last dragon, knew I was a master. Started from a servant, chapter 28. We all we got. We all we got. Oh, love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. So upon the law, put my fears in the dungeon.
We all we got. They will never argue with you that I'm not a we got.
Common sense was made before book sense. Canaanland Moors presents Common Sense and Wiki.
Legendary, bury me in the North Gates Cemetery, February the 4th days. Son of Mary, day ahead of my born day. Independence and law may civil little a lost case. With case laws, we bring them down like Jericho. Keeping all my lions tamed, I'm Chris Jericho. I'll keep a mask on deck, I'm Rey Mysterio. Fake pandemics announced over the radio. Annoyed with the game, the joys and the pains. I'm rock bass mixing with rock the hard way. I was in a lost state. Prophets told me up right, brought me to a lost gate. Cooking like I'm sorbet, dripping like I'm Denzel. Malcolm X, Deja Vu, Roman J. Israel. Had no before I lay in plain sight, but people still can't see it, so the snake's still showing up. Stakes still high, so the race still going up. Warriors of the North Gate, we not slowing up. Born in the manger, sworn to be savior. Walk through the valley of the shadows of the death grip of slavery. Looking for life, the book of Genesis. Astro plane entry. mattresses, invoke the nemesis. Abstract images of past lives kicking in. Danger, running for your life, finishing.
Morris Omar, key man or oracle, using Trinity powers, decipher allegorical, lost in metaphorical, holy books are metaphysic, facts like a dirty more or a Drew Ali critic, calling them Thomas or Walter and get your face caved, or cut like a close shave, drowned in my brain waves, squashed by heat waves, activating Kundalini, Abyssinia invaded by Mussolini, Selassie I in exile, reptile in Genesis, niggas appearing real, all I see is false evidence, they are feminists, stomped on by elephants, won't let go prejudice but want Moorish benefits, when you feel the cold magnetic resonance, apis horns of the sacred book called Maleficent, great cosmic mothers, return to blessedness, no pestilence, ace all the testaments, tap into remembrance, never to forget again, use energy right, not put spell effects on men, wandering the earth plane with no veil of shades, keeps you a mental slave as the horizon fades, it's been decades since Christian crusades, not enough rebellions, too many vigil bouquets, holding on to the fence, burning on doomsday, war ruled by Mars, it might be on a Tuesday.
Canaanland Moors present Common Sense and Quick. What we do here is we add some common sense thinking to everyday situations or comments that may arise. Want to give it a try?
They put our nation in jeopardy. Look at how we're getting put out over the fucking news. Shit was all good before this shit happened. We was moving in private, building, doing what we need to do. And y'all saying this shit is good. There's no such thing as bad publicity. But we don't want this fucking energy. We don't want this shit. And then you got master teachers saying that they didn't do nothing wrong. So-called master teachers that they didn't do nothing wrong. Bitch, you're further promoting that false-ass energy that we don't want anything to do with. Moorish American Consulate is connected to RV Bay Publications. Corrected to the House of...
Stop this. Stop lying. Stop lying. Y'all just boldly just lying? Just lying on people? How is it that Moorish Consulate is tied to RV Bay Publications? How are they? How do people have this mindset that they're tied together? Oh yeah, from when RV Bay Publications was having issues on their website, so the website was down for some hours. What did Moorish Consulate do? Oh, Moorish Consulate went out there, started talking about, come get your stuff through us now, because they're not working on it anymore. They don't exist anymore. We're the new people. Look, see, we have Tarik Bay's face on our website. And then all the dummies, all the impatient, they need their nationality card tomorrow, they need their paperwork tomorrow without studying. All these idiots went over to Moorish Consulate, not even fact-checking that the Moorish American Consulate paperwork is the same paperwork from Great Seal. All they did was change the letterhead. Everything else is the same. So if everything's the same, why didn't they just call themselves RV Bay Publications? If everything's the same except the letterhead. Oh, because if they call themselves RV Bay Publications, then they're going to look like a fraud. So why don't they look like a fraud not talking about? So, okay, so if they call themselves RV Bay Publications, people would say, hey, they can't be RV Bay Publications because RV Bay Publications, those people over there. So since they couldn't do that, and they know that the people are dumb, because they know that the people are dumb, they're going to call it something different. And then they're going to use someone affiliated with RV Bay Publications that has credibility, in this case, Tarik Bay. and put his face up there. And then the dummies are going to think that, oh, these two things are affiliated because this one individual is seen on these two platforms. When that's not really what's going on. One of them was naturally, organically affiliated. And one of them bought him. So because one of them bought him, which source are you going to trust? Because it's not the personage. Forget the face. It's about the information. Didn't Moorish consul lady get kidnapped live while they were doing class or something? And then in order for her to be free, didn't she pay a bond when they were at House of Ram for their introduction stuff, cutting the ribbon and all this stuff for the Moorish consulate? They were talking about they're going to extract people from prison. That they're just going to go out there, say they're the consulate, and you're going to be released. And we know Moors who got kidnapped, and they didn't come get them. And then now, here they come, using Rise of the Moors as clickbait to try to get you to be part of their stuff when they just got arrested and kidnapped for doing BS. Not that they were doing anything righteous before they got kidnapped. They weren't doing anything righteous. These people stole everything that they have from rvbaypublications.com and from Great Seal National Association of Moorish Affairs, and they put it out with Taj Tarik Bey's face on it and Shalimar Bey's face on it as some new thing. And then all you see is people getting kidnapped, and then one of the head people disappear, and then you don't ask any questions. And then even though the one of the head people disappeared, they're telling you get their Moorish American travel document from some guy in China who he has a Moorish American travel document but never traveled from China to America with it. Why hasn't he traveled from China to America with the Moorish American travel document if it works like that? And we're not going from the perspective of what a consulate means and all that stuff. We're not going from that perspective. We're going from the perspective of who are these people? Who are these liars that you obviously aren't studying because you're getting played by them? That's how we're looking at it. We're not looking at these people who've been playing people. They've been playing people. They didn't just start playing people yesterday. They've been playing people. Whether they were doing some yoga stuff before this, playing people. They can't even do a bridge and they're talking about, please. And everybody has some process to tell you. And then as soon as people tell you, yeah, go study, you're looking at us like, why? What do you mean go study? You're supposed to just tell me what it is. No, we're not. Who told you that? Who told you that this is about you being told what this is? Who told you that? Somebody told you that? They played you. They tell you this. This is about you and nobody else. What are you going to do with your birthright? You're going to just have it? Just because you can? Just because it's a right and you have the right? Or are you going to do something with it? Whether it's for your family, whether it's for yourself, whether it's for the nation, what are you going to do with your birthright is what it comes down to. It's your birthright. When they say, whatever LB, and then they look next to that, what are they going to see? Are they going to see 500 item list of the things that you did for yourself or for the nation or for your wife or for your children or for your whatever? Or are they going to see you got a YouTube page with no uploads on it? You just have that just because You're just gonna have this just because you're just gonna have this. And then you're talking crazy about Moors. So Moorish Consulate has absolutely no connection whatsoever to RV Bay Publications or Great Seal National Association of Moorish Affairs. The only thing that is a connection between them is Tarik Bay, because they both know him. Other than that, there's no connection. And that connection isn't some holy trinity where all these pieces are connected. They're not connected. Two pieces aren't connected. Two pieces refuse to connect. With reason. Because one of them is a traitor and a sellout. And the other one been doing this the whole time without these people. So what we need them now for? To do what? What we need these new people to do? How about go study? Nah, I don't want to study. I want to be the sultan of the whatever then. All right. Then go be the sultan of the whatever then. See how far that gets you. You're just a sultan by yourself. You better have the people who said that you're their grand whatever. Remember that this has been going on for a long time. And you're late to the party. And the reason why you're late to the party, because suppose you come into the party, you're making stops at all these different places to see what their party's saying. You got a flyer, say, come to the Moor Science Temple. Then you're stopping at the guy, and then the those guys, and then the these guys, and then the these guys, before you just go where the flyer told you go. So we go to rvbaypublications.com. They come back in 2 weeks. I was watching this more, and they said that there's an account, and what are you talking about accounts? Where you get that from? RV Bay Publications? No, because I was doing some research and I bumped into this more. No, but how are you doing research and you bumped into some more talking about packages? How do you exactly do that? Oh, you want to listen when you want to listen. You don't want to listen to the stuff that is actually going to affect you. You want to listen when it's convenient, and then run into BS, and then want to come ask about stuff when the only reason you are in that mess is because you weren't listening. Not to yourself, not to anybody else. Which, you have right not to listen, because man knows not by being told. So then if you weren't listening, what were you doing? If you weren't listening, you doing anything? But we're gonna let you know how it goes with the master teacher. So you're not confused. Because I know people like to be confused, like to play confused. But we'll take you back. Let's take you back. Take you back.
So you recognize that there's two pillars that make up the one movement. You got a divine aspect and a national aspect. You need to know both of them to make that balance. But I'm going to read the prophet's warning to the nations. And in that, I'm also going to take a moment here to interject and show you certain functions that are taking place. This is not a condemnation nor a defense of anyone, but simply to show you what Drew Ali said. Then a lot of people who know the truth about law and government, many of them have been told that Noble Drew Ali didn't set certain things up for you. Oh, that we're wiser than him because we're doing certain things. Well, he set this stuff up from day one. And I want to show you what it is and where it is, and I'm showing you also why CM Bay set up what he did to counter the traitors in this movement. All right, here we go. Now, in this movement. All right, here, And I want to show you what it is and where it is, and I'm going to show you also why CM Bay set up what he did to counter the traitors in this movement. And I want to show you what it is and where it is, and I'm going to show you also why CM Bay set up what he did to counter the traitors in this movement. All right? And I want to show you what it is and where it is, and I'm going to show you also why CM Bay set up what he did to counter the traitors in this movement. All right? Here we go.
Then before he starts that, to see why after CM Bay, Hakeem Bay exposed what he exposed in Journal of the Moorish Paradigm for what these traitors did with the movement. Moors Order of the Round Table started doing what they're doing to expose what the traitors are doing in this movement. Washita Moors, Dr. Alim, show what these traitors in the Washita stuff, how they were traitors even over there. Why he was doing what he was doing under Washita, because of traitors. This is how you have the other perspective. Right? Why Kwame Brown is coming out talking about what he's talking about, exposing all the traitors in this movement. Giving people ass birthday cakes as jokes. They're giving somebody an ass birthday cake. All these traitors been getting exposed ever since COVID actually happened, when people had time to be home to actually see what's going on. And a lot of people got hip to the game. Like, oh, you mean that wasn't an interview couch? That was a casting couch? Yeah, that was a casting couch. What? You thought, oh, you thought you got a job? You thought him rubbing on your knee was part of the script that they're trying to sell you? Oh, that was part of the script. Him going up your skirt, that was part of the script, right? You didn't make the connection, right? We're gonna let the connections be made for you. Listen, so you could learn.
Now, please listen to every word. Take the opportunity later to cross-reference this and analyze what Noble Drew Ali is saying to us all. And remember, if you really want to know about Noble Drew Ali, why don't you go ask him? Anyone knows that any PhD across the planet, that if you want to know about him, you meet his literature first. And he was also called Professor Drew, in case anyone didn't know. All right? This is page 5. And I want everyone to see that. This is where it begins. Of the Moorish literature. It will be hard to get from people who have been suppressing the Prophets movement. However, go on the internet, go get with some other Moors that are really doing the Prophet's work and communicating this information to the ignorant for their instruction, and I'm sure you'll pick up some interesting points. A divine warning by the Prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Period. I'm going slow because I want you to really absorb this, because this is very revealing. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens are or care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitution laws of a free national government and cling to the names and the principles that delude to slavery. Now that's the first paragraph. You were just revealed of what that great sin that Drew Ali came to redeem you from. What is that great sin? To violate your national constitution. Is he talking about the divine constitution in the Moorish Science Temple? He's talking about your national constitution. Now let me go to the next paragraph. Absorb this. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and to go back to that state of mind, to their forefathers, divine and national principles as government, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens. Does that sound like religion to you? Did he say that's your divine right? All right, let's follow this. According to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. Is that clear? Now, who amongst the groups of Moors are communicating with the government in which they live on national principles of constitutional law? Then you know who's supporting the Prophet's program. That's Great Seal activity right there. And anyone that disputes that is disputing the Prophet himself. That's very clear. It doesn't mean they're all doing right either. But I'm setting the law back in your hand, because the Prophet already gave it to you. But that's why that's not emphasized to you. Now, they are to claim their own free national name and religion. Now you understand the name reclamation papers that's sent to the government, the head of government. What is the head of the national government? Washington, D.C. Now you understand that process? Your free national name. Now what are you going to do with that free national name? Is your free national name Freddie Smith -Bay? However, when you come in -Bay, however, your free national name. Now, what are you going to do with that free national name? Is your free national name Freddie Smith -Bay? However, when you come into the movement, a purging process begins. However, when you become yourself, see, because you're being taught to be yourself, but when you become yourself, you're supposed to be yourself. And when you are yourself, you're supposed to live the life accordingly and fess up to that free national constitution and cast a ballot as a free national being and take your land back that already belongs here. Because all they have is control of the land. Cast a ballot as a free national. However, when you come into the movement, a purging process begins. However, when you become yourself, see, because you're being taught to be yourself, but when you become yourself, you're supposed to be yourself. And when you are yourself, you're supposed to live the life accordingly and fess up to that free national constitution and cast a ballot as a free national being and take your land back that already belongs here. Because all they have is control of the land. But, however, when you come into the movement, a purging process begins. However, when you become yourself, see, because you're being taught to be yourself, But when you become yourself, you're supposed to be yourself. And when you are yourself, you're supposed to live the life accordingly and fess up to that free national constitution and cast a ballot as a free national being and take your land back that already belongs here. Because all they have is control of the land. But you are the true possessors of the land. However, this is set up so that it can be done. However, if you don't want to unite, if we want to play these division games, we suffer. However, it makes it worse because you know better. Done. However, if you don't want to unite, if we want to play these division games, we suffer. However, it makes it worse because you know better. Done. However, if you don't want to unite, if we want to play these division games, we suffer. However, it makes it worse because you know better. See, the ignorance is bliss. But you know, and you've been given the keys, and we're still blowing it. But we're only blowing it because there's a few opportunists amongst us, you understand? And then we're not giving the information to the masses to free them because everybody wants to play this chief game because you know better. See, the ignorance is bliss. But you know, and you've been given the keys, and we're still blowing it. But we're only blowing it because there's a few opportunists amongst us, you understand? And
reawakening minds, which is also correct, which is connected to the House of Holy Prayers, which correct, which is like I didn't say nothing wrong. All of those entities are correct, connected to each other, and shit that's kind of like guilt by association. If you're dealing with this type of information, if you're agreeing with this type of information.
Oh yeah, and just go to this little chat right here. So. He's in the chat with more truth, question mark, more lies, which is a modern European, more hating whoever. Right? This is the message that they left after we called them out. You are the one claiming to be something you're not. Come join me Saturday at 9 p.m. I will be doing a live feed on Moorish history. Same people that your boy, the Prince of Hemp, is using as a reference point. No different than they use SPLC and ADL as a reference point when talking about Moors. But they never use Moorish sources. Why don't they use Noble Drew Ali, who's, yeah, he could be a doctor. Why don't they use Jose Pimienta Bay? He's more a scholar. He's a scholar that's a Bay. Why use him? Why use Hakim Bey? How come we don't use them? How come you always keep using the news? And you keep using traitors of this as the example to what Moors are. Be careful, your own. It'll sell you up the river.
Like, that's the type of shit you rock with. And I've, as of recently, disassociated myself with a lot of Moors because, like, this rise of the Moor shit has let us know, like, who's with what type of bullshit. I don't got time for that. That's not what the Prophet came and taught. That's not the way my ancestors agreed to move. Like, even though y'all, and then people try and put them in the same line as the Black Panthers. Bitch, do you know how the Bloods and Crips got started? Do you know how the Black Panthers, it was to protect their family and their homes. It wasn't to be out here flashing and be showing presence in that capacity. It was because of a need.
And again, I want to remind those of you who are sharing with us tonight to start looking at many of the people who have been making negative statements about the rise of the Moors. or attacking them, to start looking at those people who are making the attacks and see what their motives are. And see if any one of them have identified, in fact, a treaty or constitutional law that them brothers and sisters violated. And identify any already established statement presented by any one of those complainants who presented information to show that they violated any laws. And I suggest that you've seen complaints, but you have not seen them show any law that they violated. On top of the fact that I'll show you something that they violated the law. They've accepted the strangers before their own blood. That's the violation that I've been looking at.
This is our respect each other.
And again, I want to remind those of you who are sharing with us tonight to start looking at many of the people who have been making negative statements about the rise of the Moors or attacking them, to start looking at those people who are making the attacks and see what their motives are. And see if any one of them have identified, in fact, a treaty or constitutional law that them brothers and sisters violated. And identify any already established statement presented by any one of those complainants who presented information to show.
There's Malik Bey in the chat killing him. My nationality is Moorish American, agent, whoever he's talking to. That's what you have to do. Be in their chat. Just pour gasoline on everything and just burn everything to the ground. They're full of BS. Full of it. Burn their stuff to the ground. So one more time for the master teachers, because he's letting you know, since you want to follow him, let's see if you follow now. Now you followers of the master teacher.
And again, I want to remind those of you who are sharing with us tonight to start looking at many of the people who have been making negative statements about the rise of the Moors or attacking them, to start looking at those people who are making the attacks and see what their motives are. And see if any one of them have identified, in fact, a treaty or constitutional law that them brothers and sisters violated. And identify any already established statement presented by any one of those complainants who presented information to show that they violated any laws. And I suggest that you've seen complaints, but you have not seen them show any law that they violated. On top of the fact that I'll show you something that they violated the law. They've accepted the strangers before their own blood. That's the violation that I've been looking at.
Telling them to their face. Telling them to their face. Like people talking about 5-hour lecture about what Rise of the Moors did and what they shouldn't have did, and they should have had the guns stacked in the. It should have been packaged properly with the duct tape around it so they don't have any issues. How come none of you people ever showed the law they violated yet? No one? And then somebody else was saying it earlier too, that there hasn't even been a trial yet. People are finding people guilty. Now they're guilty and there's no trial yet. The court of public opinion, which is no proof of truth, is critiquing and analyzing something Moorish. You don't analyze this. But instead of us, we'll let the master teachers tell it.
Now, fact. Fundamental fundamentally all across the planet Earth, past even to present, but hidden in different areas amongst different people. Religion is fundamentally cosmology. Are we clear? Are we clear? And it has nothing to do with belief systems whatsoever. Are we clear? We're not saying that people who claim religion don't have belief systems. We do acknowledge that. Truth be told, that is a tool that the priesthood created. Are we clear? But the masses have been told that the belief systems are the pinnacle of the knowledge, which is a false paradigm, and has limitedly been challenged. Are we clear? Now, I want to make myself very clear. It is not to condemn people who accept or deal with belief systems. It is simply to look at things for what they are. Are we clear? And to make people who are less knowledgeable at least on parity with the priesthood who are teaching them. Are we clear? Which has been resisted. Are we clear? So one of the keys to the priesthood power is keeping certain fundamental knowledge away from the believers in order to keep the caste system, the believers paying the bills. Called Roman tax, 10% tax, called also tithe, which was set up by Pope Sylvester II. That's where the tithing principle comes from. Are we clear? It didn't come from Prophet Muhammad, it didn't come from Jesus and God and Allah and Moses. It came from Pope Sylvester II. Are we clear? However, it has been inculcated into the systems called religion, where the masses have been tricked into believing that that principle of the tithing came from the God creator Allah in heaven on a throne with a turban. That's not the origin. The origin is Pope Sylvester II. Get over yourself. You understand? And it's been propagated onto the world, and it has become what people have been calling religion. Has nothing to do with religion whatsoever. It's dogma. The problem the masses have is they don't know the separation points. Are we clear? The other problem is that all the priesthood, Islamic, Judaism, Christianity, all know it, and they know it to get them degrees. They don't talk it because they're part of the jingle. Know the coinage. And pretend that the misery and the poverty that humanity has suffered came from the mystical devil, did it to them. It's the priesthood, always has been the priesthood from the door. Some more corrupt than the others, but all generally corrupt. And then we're not giving the information to the masses to free them because everybody wants to play this chief game. Get it? See, so they figure they keep them ignorant of what the prophet really said. Then as soon as they see somebody doing any civic activity, they say, well, don't do that. You're supposed to only pray. Go over there in the corner and pray.
It was because of a need, and for you to say that this is that same type of energy, you yourself are ignorant. Like, you gotta learn something, yo. So,
meanwhile, their babies are dying in the street. They've been collecting bus funds in many of these temples for years. Babies that grew up and had babies, and mothers still can't get to the temples on these buses they've been paying for. Less more some school, and the prophet said every temple must have a school. Just like Brother Ibrahim said, you know, the temple has a function, and you must understand its structure. But the school's supposed to take care of the rest of it. Well, that's why the funds is being collected for your domestic affairs. Excuse my bumpiness. You understand that? And every penny must be accounted for. And I'm going to complete this. Remember, this is just 2 pages here, and this second page is not complete. But in this is embodied the program. Also, other warnings. Now let's look and let's consider this. Consider what you've seen, consider what you run into, and then consider your affairs when you deal with anybody concerning this movement. Because this is your gauge. If you want to have a tool to gauge the movement, just like what Brother Rahim said, we need to protect our temples. But how do you know who is upholding the prophet's program? Not who you like and who you don't like. You judge it by principles that have been laid down. They're very clear. If you're a carpenter, I'm a carpenter, I build. If I got to repair this wall and repair the ceiling All right, that's an I-beam. I'm going to look for standards according to the dimensions of the lumber, according to the type of structure where you got A-frames, flat roof, etc. Generally, I'm going to look for them main members to be spaced 16 inches on center. If I build a truss system, I may go to 18 to 2 feet. However, those are principles that are universal. Another contractor can come behind me and look for that. Same way, if we run in juice, exposed wires, that's BX. Because it's exposed. I might use Romex, but that's going to be behind the wall. Those are principles, and they're universal. So remember this. When the principles stop being looking for the lie. So you want to understand Private No Dry Lease program? Don't ask me. I studied. Ask yourself. But how? Looking for the lie. So you want to understand Private No Dry Lease program? Don't ask me. I studied. Ask yourself. But how? The principles stop being looking for the lie. So you want to understand Private No Dry Lease program? Don't ask me. I studied. Ask yourself. I studied. Ask yourself. So you want to understand Private No Dry Lease program? Don't ask me. I studied. Ask yourself. But how? Read what the prophet said. Because he already told you. What happens is people get in positions of power and authority and divert your attention from this, or downplay it, and you get all smoked up in something else, and before you know it, you following them, not the prophet.
Well, however y'all feel about me saying what I said about Taj, just come with some receipts. If Taj has helped you, great. He's helped me in some aspects, learning that, shit, I should read the Black Star Dictionary a little bit more. Understood, but I can't equate him as being a master teacher because of all of the opposition that comes on the back end.
All over the place making ourselves fools on our own land. Going to buy your own estate from a foreigner who's occupying you. Under a color of law, color of authority, with a de facto, defunct, and dissolved corporate entity that they lied to you since 1871, told you was a country, and you bought into it. And that's what you're suffering from right now. The ignorance is amazing. While we sit around and talk about gods and devils every 5 minutes, and don't even know basic stuff of operations on the planet. It's extremely disgusting, really. Because even on our own land, going to buy your own estate from a foreigner who's occupying you. Under a color of law, color of authority, with a de facto, defunct, and dissolved corporate entity that they lied to you since 1871, told you was a country, and you bought into it. And that's what you're suffering from right now. The ignorance is amazing. While we sit around and talk about gods and devils every 5 minutes, and don't even know basic stuff of operations on the planet. It's extremely disgusting, really. The ignorance is amazing. While we sit around and talk about gods and devils every 5 minutes, and don't even know basic stuff of operations on the planet. It's extremely disgusting, really. Because even a child could understand. You could present this information to a grade schooler, and they can rationalize it. The ignorance is amazing. While we sit around and talk about gods and devils every 5 minutes, and don't even know basic stuff of operations on the planet. It's extremely disgusting, really. That's how they work this thing. And that's why I chose to read this to you tonight. Please absorb it. I trust and I wish, because we talked earlier this week, and I wanted to get this copied and blowed up so I could share it with you, but I suggest you get with someone who has it and review it. And I'm going to continue this. Look how powerful this is. There is but one issue. You hear that? There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth. Isn't that plural? Is that confined or is that going out? To be recognized by this government and of the earth. That's your affairs out there. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine national movement, which is incorporated into this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. Are you with me? And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights, and divine is capitalized. He's letting you know that your divine rights are incorporated into your civil activities with this government and of the earth in your Moorish affairs. Take your place among the affairs of man. That is a divine constitution, is based on ancient law, and all other nations use it as a guide. The Europeans didn't set that up. Moors set that up with 20 European sons, 35 Muslims, and 20 Muslim sons, which is a Masonic code for Europeans who have accepted the Moorish way. And the reason why the United States Republic that you know was set up as a governmental principle and a governmental system was to stop a cycle of wars that have been going on for centuries. And it is the experiment of the implementation of the ancient Moabite law for isonomy, or equal justice and equal principles applied to all members of society, which makes this the unique government that it is, why you got those two seals on that dollar bill as one. Why this is also called the great melting pot. And the great potential of this great nation lies in the law. And the law has been placed back into your hands, and you better do something with it if you're wise. And you better unite while you're doing it. Let us continue. So first, that is a divine constitution, is based on ancient law. And all other nations use it as a guide. The Europeans didn't set that up. Moors set that up with 20 European sons, 35 Muslims, and 20 Muslim sons, which is a Masonic code for Europeans who have accepted the Moorish way. And the reason why the United States Republic that you know was set up as a governmental principle and a governmental system was to stop a cycle of wars that have been going on for centuries. And it is the experiment of the implementation of the ancient Moabite law for isonomy, or equal justice and equal principles applied to all members of society, which makes this the unique government that it is, why you got those two seals on that dollar bill as one. Why this is also called the great melting pot. And the great potential of this great nation lies in the law. And the law has been placed back into your hands, and you better do something with it if you're wise. Hard truth, but I'm telling you the truth. Handle it or reject it. Do the research, you'll see it for yourself, if you're willing to be honest. Are we clear? Now let's set certain facts before you for your examination to remove mystery. Are we clear? You know how, like, a lot of times you'll hear in social media people who deal with that. As Moorish consciousness has grown, you'll see a lot of countermeasures to try to suppress it or to try to dismiss it. Right? Now, I want to remind you all so that you will understand this. Are we clear? know how, like, a lot of times you'll hear in social media, people who deal with that. As Moorish consciousness has grown, you'll see a lot of countermeasures to try to suppress it or to try to dismiss it. Right? Now, I want to remind you all so that you will understand this. You'll hear them often making reference to Kemet and Egypt, right? Right? And act like it's something separate from Moorish science. Are we clear? Right? Well, what they've been calling Egypt is Eclipta. All priests know that. How come that's not known among the people in general? I'm just presenting something to you. I'm not challenging you. I'm presenting certain fundamental truths that I know that the masses have not been told by the priesthood. Now, the question for you is, what is their motive for not telling you this? I'm not going to argue what their motive is. I'm just presenting that to you for your consideration. Since everybody keeps talking about they're telling the truth, since everybody keeps talking about they're doing research and they went into ancient Egypt, lifted up 2 pyramids and found some stuff, and they have some extra peanut butter sandwiches over here. Whoa, deep. For you is, what is their motive for not telling you this? I'm not going to argue what their motive is. I'm just presenting that to you for your consideration. Since everybody keeps talking about they're telling the truth, since everybody keeps talking about they're doing research and they went into ancient Egypt, lifted up 2 pyramids and found some stuff, and they have some extra peanut butter sandwiches over here. Whoa, deep. We never knew that. Oh. One of the things you find out that ain't Egypt. It's not that we haven't called different areas Egypt, but it's not what I'm saying. They cooked it. Why they don't want you to know that? This is where you get Patah when they keep talking about Patah. That's where you get Patah from. As a matter of fact, in the church, this is where they get Peter from, that they keep saying, good the Christian thing. So why don't the priesthood just tell you these things? Why? Because if it starts you thinking these different platforms that they've given to you in the name of religion will collapse yesterday. And you'll discover that these people are parasitic opportunists, seizing off the ignorance of the poor that they themselves have promoted and built upon and blamed on the prophets, and hiding behind Jesus, God, Allah, Moses, Muhammad. Why? Because if it starts you thinking these different platforms that they've given to you in the name of religion will collapse yesterday. And you'll discover that these people are parasitic opportunists, seizing off the ignorance of the poor that they themselves have promoted and built upon and blamed on the prophets, and hiding behind Jesus, God, Allah, Moses, Muhammad. Are we clear?
Andrew,
and then not telling the truth that these representations of men, of Yeshua, Jesus, Muhammad, etc., were social reformers. They were pumping religion at people. They were social reformers. And most of their challenges came from people who claim to be religious. Are we clear? As a matter of fact, their murderers came from people who claim to be religious, who were threatened by them liberating the people. Are we clear? Now, that's the truth. That's the record. However, it's not admitted to. And hiding behind Jesus, God, Allah, Moses, Muhammad. Are we clear? And then not telling the truth that these representations of men, of Yeshua, Jesus, Muhammad, etc., were social reformers. They were pumping religion at people. They were social reformers. And most of their challenges came from people who claim to be religious. Are we clear? As a matter of fact, their murderers came from people who claim to be religious, who were threatened by them liberating the people. Are we clear? Now, that's the truth. That's the record. However, it's not admitted to. Once in a while, somebody will touch on it, but they don't get into that like that, do they? You see, the devil did it. You see the guy riding down the pike on the IRS, and they say the devil, no, the guy riding the pike ain't, this guy, agent that works for the IRS, who works for the Federal Reserve, who are members of the Knights Templars and the Knights of Columbus, who are working for the Roman Curia against the Sister Q Trust that was set up by the folks of Rome to control, conquer peoples and lands of the Roman Curia. That's who that is. What's so complex about that? See, because now you remove the God and devil game. Now they can't play you. Now you go take that guy and rob your bike, punch him in the face, get him off your damn bike, take your bike back. You don't do that. So you go pray on it, go march around the